Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. This day changes everything. This event changes everything. It is either resurrection or nothingness. Am I being dramatic? I don't think so. If this day isn't true, if this event is not true, then I'm a fraud and I need to get an honest job. If this event isn't true, if this day isn't true, then our faith is a joke, like so many people already think. But do we believe just simply in positive thinking and good vibes, and the fact that things can turn out okay and everything happens for a reason and all these phrases? Or do we actually believe in a person and in an event that happened in human history and changed everything? If we believe in that, then everything has changed. I've heard it said before that every story mirrors the greatest story, and I truly believe this. That everything that we've tried to create in the last 2,000 years of history is just simply an attempt at telling this story again. At telling the story of a victory over someone who looked defeated, who looked dead, who was dead, who came back to life. Every movie, every Marvel movie is good, conquering evil. Every song that we love to sing is about how we need to not stop believing, how we need to have hope, how we need to have faith, how life comes after struggle and darkness and death. Every book that you've ever read that's really impacted your life is tinged with the fact that we can live forever and that our story doesn't end here on this earth with death. And so simply put, this story is the greatest underdog story of all time. The greatest story that every other story tries to mirror and imitate an image. And we all love a good underdog story, do we not? I know I do. I've grown up a huge sports fan, and from the time I was little, the Boston Red Sox were my team, and they never won. And then when they did, it was a rejoicing. And then when I was in seminary in Chicago with the Cubs won, and I never thought they would, but they did. And then the Chiefs were down, 3 touchdowns and scored 2 touchdowns and scored 3 in the last 7 minutes. And even UKU fans know that the underdog story, the comeback story from halftime till the end of the game is an image of this great story. We all want somebody to come back from the dead. We all want this story. I remember when I was little, my first memory of these types of stories was when my brother and I would sneak off down to the basement and watch pro wrestling. Yeah, We'd watch the buried alive matches, right? Where they had to and that's what pro wrestling is completely built on, right? This idea that somebody's about to die, that somebody's about to be defeated and they come back. They bury Undertaker and then his hand comes up through the dirt and he's back. I live for these moments as priests. As a priest, as a father, I live for the moment when people come back from 25 years outside of God's grace into the confessional. I live for the moment that I've experienced in this past year of a deathbed conversion, of someone coming back to the faith and being baptized and anointed and receiving communion, their first communion, right before they pass. We live for these moments. We live to see the underdog win. We live to see the captives set free. One thing that I've gotten into a little bit, perhaps many of you are as well, because they dominate on the podcast charts, is true crime podcasts, right? So you listen to this podcast about a story of how this crime happened and how it was solved and how somebody conquered through the struggles and the crosses and the difficult moments of their life. And there's one that really struck me in the past year. I read about in October, I think it was shown on ABC, and it was this family called the Turpin family, and the kids from 5 to 33 had all been kept in their house by their parents their whole life. They didn't even know what the outside world looked like. And by courage and by chance, one of the daughters late one night escaped through a window and found a cop that she told her whole story to, and they were all set free and liberated. We desire stories like this. We rejoice when people are set free. I think if I were them, I would want to be best friends and love that cop the rest of my life. The person who set me free from darkness, the person who set me free from slavery. And that is exactly what Jesus has done for us, my friends. He is the one who has set us free from slavery. Many of us feel confined at times in our life by our loneliness, by our sin, by feelings of insecurity, by feelings that I am not enough. And we oftentimes spend our lives in the grave. But Jesus has rolled away the stone for us, for you and for me. And I would just ask you to pray this morning to beg him to roll away the stones from your hearts that are preventing you from just walking right out of that tomb and living in the light of day. You see, my friends, Jesus did not just appear to be dead. He didn't just appear, it wasn't some magic trick. Jesus died and he went into the underworld. He entered death. He shook it to its core. He threw down Satan and beat him and came back for us to rip open the gates of heaven and to usher us into eternal life. And so now the thing that we fear the most, beyond spiders and snakes and the dark, the thing that we fear the most, death, is now holds no power over us. Holds no power over us. Simply put, if we were to sum up this victory, we would say that the light has overcome the darkness. Just one little flame is enough to push back the scary dark. Last night we had the most beautiful image of the church here, in my opinion, at the Easter Vigil. When we walk into a dark church and we take the light of Christ and this candle which is Christ, right? It has the 5 wounds of Christ. It is dipped in the water and baptized as Christ was. It is clothed in white and incensed and blessed. And this light is Christ. And we take all our little lights and spread them out through the church to show the power of this victory. That each of our lights has conquered sin and death. This is what the Exultet, the Easter song, says. The sanctifying power of this light dispels wickedness, washes faults away, restores innocence to the fallen, and joy to mourners. It drives out hatred, it fosters concord, and it brings down the mighty. It is only this light that can defeat wars. It is only this light that can bring joy in the midst of our own poverty. It is only this light that can bring forgiveness in our sinfulness. And so we receive the light of Christ to become other Christs and lights in the world. And it is lit, my friends, in a beautiful way for 50 days in Easter, but at two very specific times in our life. One, at the baptism of every baby, as we bring them into the church in the waters of baptism. And 2, right here in the middle of the altar at the end of a person's life, at the funeral liturgy. And so our life is meant to be lived as a lover of the light all the way through. And I think the most beautiful thing about the candle and the image of the candle, if you've never thought about it, is that it only shines by giving of itself. This candle will get shorter and shorter and shorter throughout the year, but it will shine and give light as it gives itself, just as we're called to do, that we let our light shine as we give ourselves in service and love to other people. It has been quite the 3 years here at St. Anne for me. And I would say quite the 3 years in your lives as well. To me, truly, truly, this feels like it has been the Easter Triduum throughout my time here at St. Anne. 3 years ago, we were in Good Friday. We didn't even have Mass together on this day. We couldn't even celebrate in public. It felt like Good Friday. It felt like God was missing. Last year, it felt a lot like Holy Saturday, right? That we could see a light at the end of the tunnel, and we think perhaps it might be coming to an end, but we weren't quite out of the tomb yet. This year, I hope you feel this is a time of rebirth and resurrection. This is the 3rd day. And in the past year, especially, as we have been kind of cleaning ourselves up from all that we've experienced in the last 3 years, we have certainly mourned a lot here at St. Anne the loss of so many great people in our parish. But I must confess, I tell people that feel sorry for me as a priest for so many funerals that I become friends with death in a way. And I love preaching funerals. And this day really feels to me like what a funeral truly should be. That yes, a man died, but yes, a man rose. And he has conquered everything in our life that is darkness. And so at a funeral mass, I love to just preach the gospel in a very simple way to people. And praise be to God, one of my greatest joys this year has been seeing so many families who have come back to the church after grieving the loss of a loved one. That as they stand face to face with this fragility of life, with the absence of the person that is gone, that they recognize that the only thing that can make them happy, the only thing that can satisfy us, is a presence that is stronger than death, is a love that is stronger than death. And so I want to say to you clearly, as I do to them, my friends, the resurrection is a fact. We believe in a historical fact. We don't believe in a greeting card faith of phrases that just try to make us feel better or hopeful. We don't believe, although they're nice, in pastel colors and eggs and Easter bunnies and things. We celebrate this day because we believe in a fact that there is a person named Jesus Christ, the Nazarene, that he walked the earth, that he preached and taught, and because of it, he was put to death. But on the third day, he rose again, and his body has never been found since. And if it was found, all our faith would be shaken. All our faith would be a joke. But it hasn't, because he is risen, and he sits at the right hand of the Father, interceding for us. So this is the last thing, my friends. I heard a phrase the other day that I think is one of the most profound and simple phrases about our sin and about our struggle that we experience as human beings. We as human beings are the only people who can compound our misery by remembering the past and projecting it onto the future. So when we fail or sin or fall, when we get hurt, we want to take that and we want to not trust and not believe and not have any hope in the future. But I would like for you today to remember our past 2,000 years ago, the hope of this event, and project it onto the future. Because if this is true, it changes everything. It changes the future because there is a love that lasts forever. It changes even the past because even if you've made mistakes, you can believe again today. And it changes the present because it fills you with love even for your enemies. So at the end of the day, it's resurrection or nothingness. But I don't think there's nothing out there. I think there's everything in this mystery. I think there's everything in this hope. I think there's everything in the resurrection. Thanks be to God, he is risen, and Easter has changed everything.